Hi, everyone. Wanted to share something that I recently found out with you about planning for the fall, something known as the resilient course design process. This was something I recently found out from a webinar from the ACM, the Associated Colleges of the Midwest. Basically, what really resilient course design is about is planning for your fall courses with intentional focus on engagement and flexibility to avoid having to redesign in response to changing circumstances. I know as we're facing down this fall semester, it almost seems paralyzing to think about how you might plan for something with all these unknowns that are going to happen or could possibly happen for us. So the resilient course design process is a way to plan your courses in such a way that you can be as ready for about as many things that might be thrown at you as the semester develops. Big thanks to a couple folks here, a few folks. First of all, at Carleton College, Melissa Edlin Zayas, who was the former center director there, and Victoria Morris, who's going to be stepping into that role. They did a really great job on this, as well as Danielle Steen Fatkin at Knott College. She's the director there. And again, a big shout out to the ACM team for letting me have this material and to be able to share it with you. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this. Next screen here. Whew, got a lot going on here. Let's see if we can figure out what in the heck we're looking at here. So think about this as kind of as an XY axis, and there's different kind of regions for this thing. So let me try to highlight a few things for you. So as we kind of go in the upward direction here, that's kind of the high touch face-to-face engagement that, small schools like Denison are known for, right? That's what, kind of the Denison experience. Over here on this side is about how we're going to go about delivering that content. Down here is online engagement. So again, face-to-face engagement is kind of in this direction, online engagements in this direction. Over on the left-hand side of the screen will be how we're going to deliver our content. And then once the students have the content and understand it, can do something with it, how can they apply that, practice, and discuss that material? So we kind of have an X direction about application and practice and discussion, as well as content delivery. And then we have a mode of delivering that. It's either going to be face-to-face engagement all the way down to online engagement. So that's roughly how we want to look at this screen here. Now, the problem with what we might face in the fall, or what we did face in the spring, is this stuff up here was very susceptible to disruption. So if you think about it, if you give a lecture, an active lecture, you have Q&A during lecture with students, or students presenting in class, announcements in class, all of those things are very susceptible to any kind of disruption that we might have, as well as, my head's kind of in the way here. I apologize. This says studio arts and laboratory performances. My apologies. Workshopping with student work in class for a lot of our humanities courses, instruction-led discussion activity, problem solving. Again, that's kind of that Denison hallmark, as well as student small group discussion or activities. And I know that's just a huge part of a lot of my classes. So how do we plan in such a way to kind of get out of this? I know it's not quite red, but let's call it this red zone. So how do we plan our courses to get out of this red zone up at the top to be able to move down here where things are a little bit more robust and won't be as challenging if we do have those disruptions? Also, this little spot here in the yellow, these are kind of moving towards the online things, but they do have some issues as far as time zones and tech limitations. So we do have to be concerned with equity here as far as what access our students might have to this material and type of presentation. Okay. So get our brains wrapped around this. What I did is I sat down and thought about a class that I was teaching last spring, kind of pre-pandemic, and what was happening in that course. So here are the things that I was doing in my class. I had a lecture. I like to call it an active lecture. A lot of student question and answering during that process. I would give announcements in class. I have a very good attendance with my students. They show up, so I could just kind of announce things ahead of class. I did have course readings, even if it was a math course, kind of surprising. A lot of instructor-led discussion, activity, and problem solving, and just a ton of student small group work. I'm a huge fan of think, pair, share. Students working in pairs throughout the week was really a big part of my courses. Obviously, I had assignments. There were a few things getting down in the white zone here on the online engagement. There were a few things that I did do. I did have some, kind of daily practice problems that they could do on the web through a math system that we had. So that was something that I already had that was robust as far as, the disruption was going. And also I provide my students with what I call skeletal notes. It's kind of a skeleton outline of what my notes look like, and then they fill that material out either when they're doing their reading or while they're in class. So I already kind of had those things available to them online. So now that I kind of have in mind this idea of trying to do a resilient course design, what I want to do is I want to try to get as many of these things up here in the red zone down into the white zone as I possibly can. So let's see if we can start nibbling away at this thing. Well, let's do this. Let's take the red circles and we'll try to turn them green. That seems a little bit more positive. So first off, let's see here. Where am I at? Let's try this. So first off, green, right? I was already doing the quiz checkpoints and I was also doing my notes online. So that's green. That's already down in that white zone below. So that's good. And I'm still going to do course readings. I'm still going to do assignments. So those 4 bubbles there can kind of turn green. So that's some progress. What's the next thing? Well, a real low-hanging piece of fruit here, announcements in class. Let's go ahead and move that down to announcements via text or video in the LMS. This is something I learned back in the spring during what I call the pivot that I will use throughout the rest of my career. The notion of creating a small kind of a micro video, meaning like 3 to 4 minutes of kind of course announcements of maybe where we're going that week and where we've been, kind of a reflection thing as well. So I found that very powerful, and that's something to share with the students. Not hard at all to do. Like I said, I will continue that throughout my career. Okay, so we got 1 red bubble down, more to go. Okay, the next big one, lecture. What are we going to do with that one? Well, lecture, yeah, that's me kind of delivering content, and the students, if it's actually lecture, they're kind of passively, working with that. So how can I, maybe offload that onto this, down into this white region? So what I've done is I've taken my lectures and instead created some instructional videos. Again, micro lessons. So if you think about our Tuesday teaching tech tidbits, get my tongue wrapped around that. I had some that on presenting or creating videos that were just short, 5 to 6 minute nuggets of instructional videos, micro lessons that would help students better understand the material, and to break those up into smaller units as opposed to having like one big 50-minute lecture recorded or something like that. Cognitive load's better for the students. They can keep focused, and it keeps you focused as well. So I will continue to do that. All right, what else can I do? Let's see. It's getting harder. I got some of the low fruit out of the way. Let's look over here at the student small group of discussion activities over on the right-hand side, kind of in the first quadrant, if you will. So that one, let's nibble away at that one. Let's be honest, that again is just kind of a hallmark for my class. I think it's a hallmark for a lot of us here at Denison with that Denison high touch experience when our students actively engage with one another. So one of the things I'm going to nibble away at this student small group in the red region and move it down is to think about creating some asynchronous team-based activities, some opportunities for the students to work outside of class asynchronously, but work with each other in teams. I'm thinking about creating teams of 4, and I also want to keep those teams at least through half a semester, because if you think about the organization and time and scheduling and all that, and just getting used to everybody's pattern and rhythm in class, I would scramble these up every week. That was not a big deal because they're always there. But if you think about that, the structure of that outside schedule, I'm going to work on those teams kind of staying together for at least a half a semester, maybe the whole semester, if that works out for us. Okay, so we're making a little progress here. Let's see what else we can do here. Let's see. Oh yeah, how about this? Let's again nibble away at the small group. So if there is a disruption where I cannot do a face-to-face meeting with my students, I might not get it down to the white zone here, but I am getting it down into the yellow zone. So I'm going to do small group discussion or activities via breakout rooms, so using Zoom or something like that. I think a lot of us had experience with that back in the spring and have learned from that experience that it can be useful. So that's something I'm going to keep in my back pocket, that if I need to move away from my face-to-face engagement, I can do that with my students, or even in a hybrid situation, I might be doing that already. Again, please be mindful that is in that yellow zone, so we have to be mindful of the equity issue of people having access to the internet as well as their time zone issues. All right. Now, what else we have left? We got 2 other big red ones up here. And again, I'm just going to try to move those down into the yellow zone here. So again, trying to do those through video conferencing. So the student question and answering, some kind of chat or video conferencing. I know some folks are using kind of an asynchronous thing called Slack, or one of the apps that you can use if you want to explore something like that. And then also I'm going to do instruction-led discussion, activity, and problem solving. Again, kind of do that in smaller groups. So I can imagine if I had, say, face-to-face group of 12 to 16 students, what I might do is break that, say, group of 16 down into smaller groups of 8, and then meet with them in these video discussions as I did the past spring. And again, trying to align those 8 so that they would be in the same time zone and have the same equal access to that. It's not ideal, but again, it's better than just kind of falling things not happening up here in this red zone. Now, let's take a look at what we've done here. We've taken a lot of things that I had up here in red, right up at the top. We've taken a lot of those things and have moved those down into the white zone, which is good. And then we have a few of those things that are actually in the yellow zone. So it's not exactly perfect, but now that I have so many things down in the white zone, the white stuff, that's stuff that I can do ahead of time. I can pre-plan for that. I can create my videos. I know how to post those announcements. That's going to happen whether I'm face-to-face or not. And then if things happen that I do have a disruption and I have to shift from face-to-face to some type of remote learning, then all I really have to focus on are these 3 dotted bubbles here as opposed to all the circular bubbles that I had before. So hopefully that will help focus my energy, focus my attention, as well as my students' attention on what are the key things that we need to do to kind of do this heavy lift to make this work in case there are some type of disruption. Okay, so I hope you found this useful. I will include a link to this little diagram in case you want to play around with this and kind of think through it on your own. And if by any chance you're interested in exploring more with this, I'd be happy to discuss with some folks or a group of folks if you'd like to sit down and kind of plan out and map out what this might look like. So I hope you found it useful. Thanks.